Hollywood has always worshipped beauty, fame, and charm, but strength? That's a different story. Behind the flashing lights and movie magic, a few rare stars carried something deeper than muscles: grit. These were men who turned pain into power, who fought their way from nothing and built their legends through discipline, scars, and stubborn will. Every punch, every roll, every comeback told a story of endurance. They didn't just play heroes on screen, they lived like them off it. These are 14 of the strongest actors Hollywood has ever seen. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't just walk into Hollywood, he arrived as an elemental force of nature. In a town that manufactured heroes, he was one of the rare few who built himself from the ground up, forging an impenetrable suit of muscle that would become his ultimate screen persona. Born in Thal, Austria in 1947, Schwarzenegger's career was a defiant rejection of acting convention. While the industry sought classically trained, conventionally handsome leading men, Arnold offered something singular and undeniable: the physique of a Norse god. His strength was not an accidental talent, but a singular, all-consuming life's work. Known as the Austrian Oak, he dominated competitive bodybuilding, securing an astonishing 7 Mr. Olympia titles. His body, standing over 6 feet tall and weighing well over 200 pounds of carved muscle with a chest spanning nearly 5 feet, was, in itself, a cinematic spectacle. Arnold's sheer size was his currency. It was the irresistible defining trait that producers couldn't ignore, even when his thick accent and lack of conventional acting experience suggested otherwise. This monumental strength allowed him to skip the traditional Hollywood apprenticeship. His physique was the script, the special effect, and the marketing hook all in one. When he burst onto the screen in Conan the Barbarian, 1982, he didn't need to deliver subtle dialogue. He simply had to look like a man who was capable of wrestling a god. His muscles gave instant credibility to the fantasy, casting him as the primordial warrior, a role no other actor could believably inhabit. But it was as the Terminator that his strength truly became iconic. The T-800 was an unstoppable machine, and Arnold's physique perfectly translated this terrifying inhumanity. His bulk was a silent promise of brute force, turning his slow mechanical movements into something menacingly powerful. Later, he mastered the unique genre of the action comedy, where his massive size became a source of self-aware humor. His body made the absurdity of his one-liners land with a charismatic, playful authority. Arnold Schwarzenegger's strength, forged in the iron gyms of his youth, was more than just a physical attribute. It was the foundation of a global brand. It was the weapon he used to carve a path from obscurity to being one of the highest-paid actors in history. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Dwayne Johnson, known to the world simply as The Rock, represents the ultimate evolution of the Hollywood heavyweight. Unlike actors who spend years honing their craft in obscurity, Johnson arrived on the silver screen already possessing an unprecedented, stadium-sized charisma and a physique so enormous it could only have been forged in the most demanding athletic arenas. His transition from professional wrestler to the highest-paid actor on the planet is not merely a career change, it is a masterclass in leveraging a unique physical and performative brand. Johnson's journey began with the WWE, where he became a seismic force, the people's champion. His size, listed at approximately 6'4" and routinely over 250 pounds, provided the required spectacle, but his true strength lay in his voice. He honed an electrifying mic skill, a booming, infectious confidence, and signature catchphrases that transcended the wrestling ring and created a massive, devoted global fan base. Johnson's body was his shield, and his persona was his superpower. When he made the inevitable leap to cinema with a brief but impactful role in The Mummy Returns, 2001, his colossal presence instantly commanded attention. Hollywood executives, seeing the box office potential in his imposing stature and undeniable likability, quickly greenlit the spin-off, The Scorpion King. This was not a subtle entry into acting, it was an invasion. His enormous size and friendly, perpetually smiling demeanor allowed him to immediately step into roles that demanded both muscle and heart, a unique combination that separated him from the stoic action heroes of the previous generation. His physical capabilities are the plot devices for his biggest films. When Johnson plays a SWAT agent in Fast 5 or an intrepid explorer in Jumanji, the audience has no doubt that he can handle the impossible action. His immense strength provides the grounding logic for fantastical scenarios, making an explosion or a car chase feel even more spectacular. Crucially, Johnson's strength isn't a prison. He uses his monumental physicality as a deliberate counterpoint to his roles in family comedies, like The Game Plan, or even as the voice of a demigod in Moana, proving that his appeal stretches across all demographics. While he is currently tackling dramatic roles requiring a drastic physical slimming, for decades, his brand has relied on the sheer magnetic spectacle of his power, cementing him as the Hollywood heavyweight who truly built his empire on a foundation of muscle and magnetic charm. Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone's rise in Hollywood was not built on vanity or muscle alone, but on pure artistic ambition. Unlike the typical bodybuilders turned actors, Stallone was a writer and performer first, a storyteller who reshaped his own body to embody the spirit of struggle. His breakthrough as Rocky Balboa in 1976 captured the essence of the working-class hero: tough, flawed, and believable. His physique wasn't about perfection, but authenticity, reflecting the grit of a man who refused to quit. As Rocky evolved into a global phenomenon, Stallone transformed himself alongside it. By Rocky III, his body became a sculpted symbol of obsession and discipline, his body fat reportedly dropping to a perilous 2.8%. It wasn't just muscle, it was visual storytelling, the physical manifestation of ambition and the toll of success. For Rambo, Stallone shifted again, trading bulk for wiry precision. His lean, scarred frame became an emotional weapon, every vein and flexed muscle expressing trauma, endurance, and survival. He didn't just play soldiers or boxers, he embodied the psychology of men forged by pain. Stallone's true genius lay in turning his physique into character language. Each transformation reflected his role's inner turmoil, the triumph, exhaustion, and relentless will to fight. Behind every training montage was real suffering, and behind every muscle, a message victory comes only through endurance. Jason Statham. Jason Statham is like the cinematic version of a perfectly built Swiss watch. Every move sharp, controlled, and deadly accurate. He's not the big, smiling muscle man you see in modern action films, and he's not the broken, brooding hero from the old days either. Statham is different, a cool, no-nonsense British powerhouse who changed what it means to be an action star, all thanks to his real-life background as an elite athlete. Before fame, Statham wasn't chasing villains. He was diving off 10-meter platforms for Great Britain. That training shaped everything about him. Diving demands total control, balance, and focus under pressure, and that's exactly how he fights on screen. His moves aren't wild or random. They're clean, quick, and deadly, like a panther striking. Whether he's fighting with his fists, a bike pedal, or even a slippery floor, every motion feels perfectly planned. Unlike many of his fellow action stars, Statham's power isn't about huge muscles. It's about speed, skill, and purpose. His body looks real, functional, and believable, the kind of build that comes from martial arts, not just gym workouts. When he plays characters like Frank Martin in The Transporter, he's calm, precise, and professional. A man who treats danger like a daily job, all while looking sharp in a suit. What makes Statham truly special is his quiet intensity. He doesn't talk much, but his body language says everything. He does most of his own stunts, the jumps, the fights, the near-death chases, all to keep it real. You can feel that authenticity in every scene. Jason Statham doesn't just act in action movies, he proves them. He makes the impossible feel possible, all with that trademark calm in a perfectly tailored three-piece suit. Jean-Claude Van Damme. In the top groups of 80s and 90s action stars, there were the hulking Goliaths, the shoot-first commandos, and then there was Jean-Claude Van Damme, the unexpected ballet dancer who turned his incredible flexibility into a brand of gorgeous airborne violence. He wasn't just another action star, he was the first Hollywood fighter to truly marry the artistry of dance with the brutal power of the martial arts. The man nicknamed the Muscles from Brussels wasn't born with the swagger of a movie idol, He was reportedly a skinny kid with glasses who started training in Shotokan karate at 10. What separated him was his dedication to training, which included bodybuilding and, most surprisingly, 5 years of classical ballet. It is this last fact that explains the entire Van Damme phenomenon. He himself said he did it for dexterity, stretching, and grace. This blend of disciplines gave him a signature that Hollywood had never seen: the power of a kickboxer with the aerial grace of a performer. His breakout film, Bloodsport, 1988, was a message in pictures. It showcased the two physical feats that would define his career: the impossible 180-degree split, often used to dodge attacks or launch a vicious counter, and the 360-degree helicopter kick. These moves were not mere camera tricks. They were the real-life skills of a former European Professional Karate Association champion, delivered with flamboyant confidence. While the emotional depth of his characters might have sometimes been super thin and stretchy, Van Damme commanded the screen through sheer athletic commitment. He was an international star whose primary language was motion, a wild mix of kicks, expressions, and impossible acrobatics that dared you to look away. He didn't need to be the biggest or the baddest. He just needed to be the one who could make violence look like poetry, proving that sometimes the most dangerous man in the room is the one who can touch his nose with his foot. Terry Crews. Terry Crews doesn't just walk into a scene, he takes over the whole space. He's a rare mix in Hollywood, a former NFL linebacker built like a superhero, but whose real magic isn't just his strength, it's how he uses that powerful body to make people laugh and show real emotion. Terry's life is proof that breaking expectations can lead to greatness. His career started not in acting, but on the football field, where muscle meant survival. Yet underneath that helmet, he was hiding another side. He was a skilled, scholarship-winning artist. When football ended, he didn't just lose a job, he lost his sense of who he was, falling into a deep sadness as he tried to rebuild his life. His move into acting started slowly, with small, tough guy roles, but everything changed when he stopped fighting who he was, both strong and sensitive, bold and funny. That balance made him unforgettable. His role as Latrell Spencer in White Chicks became a classic because it was hilarious to see such a big, muscular man act with such goofy, over-the-top charm. Terry's brilliance comes from contrast. He plays men who look like they could smash through walls but aren't afraid to cry, laugh too hard, or panic. In Brooklyn Nine-Nine, as Sergeant Terry Jeffords, he's the strongest man in the room, but also the most anxious, loving father who worries about getting hurt. That's what makes him special. He takes the tough guy image and fills it with real human emotion. And then there's his unforgettable Old Spice ads. Nobody else could have made a macho deodorant commercial so ridiculous and funny. His wild energy and those famous peck pops turned him into a viral legend. It's not just a silly move, it shows his total control and confidence, like a dancer who knows every beat. Terry is a fitness lover, but not out of vanity. For him, working out keeps his mind strong. His daily routine of lifting and cardio fuels both his body and creativity. Dave Bautista. To look at Dave Bautista is to see human strength made real, tall, scarred, and unbreakable. But behind the muscle is a man who refused to let fame define him. After years as a WWE star, adored as Bautista, he shocked everyone in 2010 by walking away from the ring at the height of his career. He turned down millions because he wanted something harder, to become a real actor, not just another ex-wrestler chasing fame. His first movie role was humbling. Bautista saw himself on screen and realized he wasn't good yet. Instead of quitting, he devoted himself to learning the craft. He spent 3 years broke, training, auditioning, and waiting for someone to take him seriously. That discipline, that quiet stubbornness, became his greatest weapon. His breakout came as Drax the Destroyer in Guardians of the Galaxy. At first glance, Drax was all brawn and rage, but Bautista gave him heart. His mix of innocence, blunt honesty, and buried pain made the character unforgettable. Suddenly Hollywood saw what he could do. But he didn't stop there. He shed over 80 pounds of muscle, reshaping himself, not for vanity, but for vulnerability. He wanted to move, to feel, to act, not just look strong. In Blade Runner 2049, his brief scene as Sapper Morton carried more emotion than words could express. That quiet power caught the eye of top directors like Denis Villeneuve and M. Night Shyamalan, leading to deeper, more complex roles in Dune and Knock at the Cabin. Lou Ferrigno. Before he was a pop culture giant, Lou Ferrigno was a boy fighting to be heard in a world that refused to listen. A childhood of ear infections robbed him of most of his hearing. The world called him deaf. Louis. They mocked his speech, his silence, and in that pain, something powerful began to form. He found his escape not in the gym, but in comic books, pages filled with heroes who were strong enough to crush cruelty with their bare hands. Inspired, he built his first weights from broomsticks and buckets of cement. Every rep wasn't about vanity, it was survival. Lou wasn't building muscle, he was building armor. That armor carried him to the Mr. Universe stage, twice a champion, and eventually to television history. In 1977, he became the Incredible Hulk. No CGI, just raw, human power painted in green. He wasn't chosen only because he looked the part. He understood it. The Hulk's pain, his loneliness, his misunderstood rage. Lou had lived all of it. Under layers of paint and hours of makeup, he turned silence into performance. He didn't need words to make the audience feel. When his Hulk smashed through walls, you saw heartbreak behind the fury. You saw the boy who wanted to be heard. Decades later, Lou Ferrigno remains the living embodiment of the Hulk, not trapped by the role, but defined by it. He voiced the Beast in later films and even learned to laugh at himself on The King of Queens. Michael Clarke Duncan. Duncan was a man built like a fortress, yet inside him lived the softest heart Hollywood ever knew. He was 6'5", muscles carved from iron, a voice that could shake a room but a spirit that could calm one. Before the fame, he was digging ditches in Chicago, guarding celebrities by night, chasing a dream that seemed far too big for a man who looked like a bodyguard, not a movie star. He protected names like Will Smith and the notorious Big, until Biggie's death made him walk away from that world forever. He decided it was time to live for something more. Then came Armageddon, a small role that left a huge impression. His warmth cut through the chaos, and Bruce Willis noticed. Willis saw what the world was about to see, that behind the strength was something luminous. He pointed him toward the Green Mile. And there, as John Coffey, Duncan performed the impossible. He made the world believe that the biggest man in the room could also be the most fragile. His whisper carried more power than any shout. His tears broke more hearts than any gun ever could. That movie earned him an Oscar nomination and immortality. Even when he played villains, the Kingpin, Manute, that gentle soul never disappeared. You could always feel it, glowing behind the muscle. When Michael Clarke Duncan lost his life tragically in 2012, Hollywood lost more than an actor. Bob Sapp. Bob Sapp, known worldwide as the Beast, is one of combat sports' strangest success stories. He was never the most skilled fighter, not a technical genius or a long-reigning champion, but he became a global phenomenon through sheer size, charisma, and chaos. A former NFL player standing 6'5" and weighing over 320 pounds, Sapp exploded onto Japan's K1 and Pride scenes in the early 2000s like a living action figure. He didn't fight with strategy, he charged like a storm. His wild power overwhelmed even legends. In 2002, he stunned fans by defeating kickboxing icon Ernesto Hoost twice. His brutal clash with Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, where he nearly slammed the champion into defeat before being armbarred, became instant folklore. For a brief time, the Beast was terrifyingly unstoppable, a walking spectacle Japan couldn't look away from. But the fire didn't last. After an eye injury against Mirko Cro Cop, Sapp's ferocity faded. His fights grew shorter, his losses quicker, and fans accused him of giving up early. Yet, behind the controversy was a cold strategy. Sapp realized his fame and massive physique guaranteed huge paydays, win or lose. So, he stopped chasing titles and started cashing checks, minimizing damage while maximizing profit. Critics called it shameful. Sapp called it smart. In a sport where legends retire broke, he turned defeat into a business model. He became a TV star, a pro wrestler, and even a movie actor, proof that being unforgettable pays more than being unbeatable. Bolo Yeung. Bolo Yeung isn't just remembered, he's etched into the history of martial arts cinema. With muscles like carved stone and a stare that could freeze a crowd, he became the face of unstoppable power. To watch him on screen is to feel an ancient kind of fear, the kind that needs no words. Whether facing Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon or squaring off with Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, Bolo wasn't just a villain, he was the mountain every hero had to climb. Born Yangtze in Guangzhou, China, his journey began with the graceful discipline of Kung Fu and Tai Chi. But beneath that calm exterior was a hunger for strength. He turned to bodybuilding and dominated, the stage winning multiple Mr. Hong Kong titles. That fusion, the balance of spiritual discipline and raw physical power, made him unlike anyone else. In a world of quick, agile fighters, Bolo was something new, a human tank with the precision of a martial artist. On screen, his magic wasn't in dialogue, but presence. He rarely spoke because he didn't need to. A cold stare, a flexed jaw, a single word, "You're next," said everything. That quiet menace became his signature. Even decades later, Bolo Yeung remains the template for the ultimate cinematic villain. He turned his body into a character, his silence into storytelling, and his presence into legend. He didn't need to win the fight to own the film. He was the fight. Nathan Jones. Nathan Jones is a living monument, nearly 7 feet tall, carved from muscle and myth. His rise wasn't planned or polished, it was inevitable. From a troubled past in Australia's Bago Road jail to the global stage, his life is a story of raw transformation. Prison gave him both his edge and his legend, a real hardness no studio could invent. When he was released, Jones turned that power inward, becoming Mega Man, one of the world's strongest men. His feats in strongman competitions made him a force of nature, impossible to ignore. Hollywood and the WWE came calling soon after. The WWE saw in him their next monster, a villain built for chaos, but behind the roar and muscles was a man who preferred silence to spectacle. Jones described the wrestling lifestyle as a rock star's life, one that clashed with his quiet nature. Tired of the constant performance, he walked away. Not defeated, but self-aware. That choice led him to an unexpected sanctuary: film. On a movie set, he didn't have to live the chaos, just perform it. His sighs became cinematic poetry, his stillness more powerful than dialogue. In Troy, 2004, his Boagrius fell swiftly to Achilles, setting the tone for epic heroism. A decade later, he delivered his defining role as Rictus Erectus in Mad Max. Fury Road, a towering, tragic brute, terrifying yet strangely human. Through it all, Nathan Jones became something rare, a gentle soul who found peace in playing monsters. Dolph Lundgren. Dolph Lundgren is remembered as the ultimate image of strength, the towering 6'5" embodiment of cold precision, who terrified audiences as Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. But behind the stoic face of the perfect Soviet fighter lies a man of astonishing intellect, discipline, and emotional depth. Born Hans Lundgren in Sweden, he wasn't just a muscle-bound athlete, he was a scholar, earning a master's degree in chemical engineering and a Fulbright scholarship to MIT. His original dream was to work in science, not cinema. Yet, beneath his academic brilliance was a quiet hunger for control and transformation. Growing up with an abusive father, Lundgren found refuge in Kyokushin karate. The sport became his salvation, teaching him focus and balance while channeling pain into purpose. That blend of intellect and physical mastery became his defining paradox, the engineer who fought not with rage, but with discipline. His life took an unexpected turn when he became a bodyguard for singer Grace Jones. Through her, Lundgren was pulled from the sterile world of science into the wild, creative energy of 1980s New York, mingling with figures like Andy Warhol. The allure of art and performance proved irresistible. After just 2 weeks at MIT, he walked away, choosing passion over science. When Sylvester Stallone cast him as Ivan Drago, Lundgren brought both his physical power and analytical mind to the role, creating a villain who was chillingly precise, yet eerily human. Drago wasn't just a fighter, He was a machine built by ideology, and Lundgren embodied him with haunting realism. Decades later, Lundgren remains more than an action star. He's a filmmaker, director, and thinker, a balance of intelligence and strength. Hafþór Júlíus Björnsson. Recently transitioning into acting, Hafþór Júlíus Björnsson is perhaps the most genuinely strong actor on this list in terms of competitive feats. The Icelandic strongman, known globally as the Mountain from Game of Thrones, is a former World's Strongest Man winner. Standing an unbelievable 6 to 9 inches and weighing over 400 pounds, his strength is not just for the cameras, it's record-breaking, world-class power. When he lifts or throws something on screen, you know it's coming from a man who can deadlift over 1,000 pounds. His acting career is still burgeoning, but his undeniable, gargantuan strength makes him a truly unique and powerful presence in Hollywood. Hafþór Júlíus Björnsson is not just a man, he is a force of Icelandic nature given human form. His life story is a fascinating narrative of transformation, a journey from a frustrated young athlete whose dreams were shattered by injury to a mythic figure who literally broke world records and embodied the terror of fantasy television. Yet, what makes his path so compellingly human is the way he channeled a profound sense of failure into the obsessive pursuit of an entirely new kind of strength. Before he was the Mountain, or Thor, the colossal Icelander was a surprisingly lean 6'9" basketball player. His ambition was the NBA, his position was center, and his commitment was absolute. But a persistent, brutal ankle injury, requiring multiple surgeries and ultimately proving unfixable, forced him to retire at the agonizingly young age of 19. For a man who had dedicated his youth to the fluid, strategic movements of the court, this was the end of a world. The loss left a void, a desperate need for a new way to utilize his sheer, overwhelming size. The answer came in the gym. While rehabbing, he started lifting, and in the raw, static violence of strongman training, he found a new purpose. As he bulked up, transforming his frame from tall and wiry to a solid, mountainous mass of over 400 pounds, he realized he wasn't just getting bigger. He was tapping into a deep Viking-esque heritage of brute power. The competitive nature that had been frustrated on the basketball court was redirected into feats of strength that defied modern physics. He became addicted, confessing that seeing his body change and knowing he could lift more than anyone in the gym made him feel good about himself. When he wasn't crushing skulls on screen, Björnsson was back in the arena, winning the Arnold Strongman Classic, Europe's Strongest Man, and finally, the World's Strongest Man title. And there you have it, a testament to the incredible power and dedication of Hollywood's strongest. These actors didn't just portray heroes and villains, they embodied strength, pushing their bodies to extraordinary limits and inspiring millions. Their commitment to physical excellence has left an unforgettable mark on cinematic history, proving that sometimes the biggest muscles make the biggest impact. Which of these titans impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more epic content, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of film. Thanks for watching.